I think it all starts with the strategy, right? What is the North Star for you? How are you different as a business? What sets you apart? With good, solid understanding and foundations, everything else kind of is easier. Marketing is the set of systems and levers that we pull, but we need those fundamentals set right before we actually go there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Digital Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Eli Adams. Today's episode is brought to you by fireusmarketing.com, where SEO solutions pave the way to digital excellence. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode where we are joined by Dilyara Breyer. Dilyara is a seasoned e-commerce expert with over 20 years of marketing experience. She played a pivotal role in the growth of Zenni, the largest retailer of prescription glasses, helping scale the company from $40 million to an impressive $400 million. A graduate of Yale Summer School of Management, Dilyara is currently leading the e-commerce and digital marketing division at the largest U.S. manufacturer of outdoor lifestyle products, specializing in steel and fabric lifestyle outdoor goods, from chairs to gazebos and greenhouses. Beyond her professional achievements, Dilyara is a dedicated partner and mother of 2 children on the autism spectrum. She has embarked on a remarkable journey that includes a unique perspective on balancing her career with her family needs. Dilyara's wealth of experience, coupled with her personal journey, makes her a well-rounded and inspiring figure in the world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Welcome to the show, Dilyara.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying all those good things about me. And thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have you here. You have quite a unique journey that, we've talked about sort of off screen, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about that story and learn who you are, kind of what you're doing, and where we're going in the future. So let's start off. Just tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up? What did you want to be when you were little? Let's learn a little bit about who Dilyara is.
So thank you for inviting me. I grew up in Soviet Union, and my parents traveled a lot, so I grew up all over. My parents took our family from this ancient city on a Volga River where I was born, to Siberia, to Polar Circle, to Moscow, to
Wow.
pretty much all over. And I changed schools every couple of years. And so I learned to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little kid, I actually wanted to be a mom. I think that was my dream, to be a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And as every little girl, I dreamed to be a teacher.
Mm.
And as a kid growing up in that era, I also wanted to be a cosmonaut, or as you would say, astronaut.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that's just like a set of dreams, right?
How cool. So did you move a lot because your parents' jobs, or they wanted you to experience different cultures, or why did you move so much?
My parents were oil geologists, so yeah, because of their job, it took us all over, um, you know, geographically, Europe and, some parts of Asia, just because, that's where the oil was. But also they were romantics, they wanted to
Yeah.
experience it all. And so, for them, living somewhere where, the sun shines only 4 months out of the year was cool, I guess, back in their 20s.
Yeah.
I don't think that's cool. Like, as a
You
parent,
don't?
no, I can't imagine, right?
Uh-huh.
Taking your kid, like a 5-month-old kid, to Polar Circle. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
a lot of instability for a little kid.
They were brave parents, that's for sure. Did you did you have a favorite place?
Growing up, yeah, I think Siberia was my favorite place. So as a kid, I got to be in different kind of really circumstances, right? When I was a new kid in an established culture, I was like more of a introverted, nerdy kind of kid who
Mm-hmm.
would be reading a book in the corner and just observing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Siberia, I was part of this new community. The city hasn't been even established at that part. And so a lot of families got together, even though there were like hundreds of them, and the
Yeah.
school was brand new. So I got to be part of this, like establishing the new culture, and gelled a lot with my fellow students. So that was really good time for me. I think it was like the end of elementary school and middle school.
Yeah, you got to be a part of building the culture for that new little town then, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a kid, I guess part of the school culture, and looking back and thinking about my leadership story, right? I think that's where it kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
I was selected often for a lot of leadership positions, within the school government, and um, whenever we had those groups taking care of certain elements of within school, like
Mm-hmm.
cleaning up the classrooms, like that was our task as elementary school students,
Yeah.
or supervising kind of like we call it supervising the preschool or elementary school students, just being there with them for a couple of hours every week. So I was selected as a leader for that.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom actually was not really happy about that. And she wanted me to focus on the studies, even though I was
Mm-hmm.
pretty good student. Yeah, she kind of pushed back, and I would ask my fellow students, why me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you want me to be in this leadership position? Why, like you want me to be like, reporting within this group, maybe to the teachers. And they said that you're just, and, we really appreciate like, the way you are with people.
Yeah.
So it
That's
helped me.
that's really cool. Cool experiences to have moving around, and fun to be able to establish that culture in the school and be selected naturally as a leader. Was there anything in your childhood that inspired you to want to be a teacher? Was it maybe being in those leadership roles, or even a cosmonaut? Was there a specific class that you took that was like, oh, I definitely want to do that? Or was it maybe just the atmosphere of what was happening in the world, and that's just what you lean towards?
I had my favorite teachers, and I think as kids we all have our favorite teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be able to impact, young people, and just to be that kind of good presence in somebody else's life. So I think that was
Yeah.
my um, inspiration. And I still, I still hope that at certain, you know, part of my life, I will be a teacher. Actually, I was volunteering a lot when I came to US, and part of
Mm,
it was at school. So
that's cool.
that dream kind of came. True.
Yeah, yeah. My wife was a teacher for over 10 years, and she had the same thing. I think she had a second or third grade teacher that just inspired her, and ever since then she wanted to do it. And I have lots of great teachers that I still keep in touch with. My one of my favorites is Mrs. Perkins from third grade. If I were to be a teacher, I'd want to be one like her. So I can totally get where you got that inspiration. Um, okay, so now you're moving all around. At what point did you said you graduated valedictorian there, and it was at that point where you're like, okay, time to go to the United States, or what brought you to the United States?
um, yeah. So after Siberia, the school in Siberia, actually, I was in almost school. So I graduated from a smaller, yeah. Well, I mean, not a smaller school, from a different school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to study to this amazing city that hardly anyone knows. And it has one of the oldest universities in Europe,
Hmm.
and a university that, Lev Tolstoy, Lenin, Gorky. Well, Gorky didn't get to attend it because, I guess he was poor at that point. But so many amazing people attended that I wanted to be studying there and walking those halls. So
Hmm.
um, I ended up getting a degree in business from aviation branch of that school.
That you
Like
said
there was like a
aviation?
technical aviation, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Technical kind of branch of that school. And while there, I met my husband, who had a job offer already in US. I've never been to US before that, and I never thought I would be an expat. Never really wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
living abroad. Frankly speaking,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make a difference, where I was, and I thought I could. But then, yeah. My husband said that, you love California.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll be the judge of it. And so we moved. And
Yeah.
yeah, here we are 25 years later. I guess I like it.
Yeah. You've
It
been here
was
for 25 years. I hope so.
25, right? It was never supposed to be a permanent move for me. I just thought that, we'll figure it out. Like, I thought we will be moving like my parents, and
Yeah.
figure out where we want to bring up. our kids and where we want to end up. And yeah.
How cool. What a fun experience. So then you moved to the United States 25 years ago. Your husband has a job. Walk me through the process of your jobs from there until where you're at now. How did you get to being this awesome digital leader now?
Good question. It was definitely not a straight road. I never would have thought that. Well, I mean, I definitely dreamed to be in the position that I am now, but I never thought that I would, like, it wasn't a plan, really.
Yeah.
And there was not even an idea, right, of a digital leader back then. I mean, what was like 2000, early 2000s, like internet was just like, happening. E-commerce was just like beginning, right?
Yeah.
So so I came here, and like I said, I volunteered a lot. I couldn't work for a couple of years because I came on a spouse visa, so I couldn't work. So I just I could only volunteer. So it's actually pretty tough, right? Like to be an expat and to just find your way here. Luckily, I already knew the language. I always loved languages, so I was studying languages as a hobby, somewhat in the university. So when I graduated, I knew English. I learned German to speak to my husband's family, and I love French, so I learned some French. Um, the languages have been always my passion, and now my kids are really, well, my oldest is into languages, or rather linguistics. Volunteered a lot. At a certain point, we had kids, and at a certain point, we were part of the group that actually founded a democratically run school. So that was pretty interesting experience. Everyone in the school had a voice, like everyone, kids, teachers, administration staff, everyone had the same voice. So kids, of course, were the majority. So it was quite an interesting experience in democracy for me, and also very beautiful. So I helped running the school. I did the PR and marketing for the school. And then at a certain point, I wanted to redesign the website. And I took the classes at a local college for, website design. And at the end of the class, I actually started having clients. I was so good at it. Fellow students approached me. And so I thought maybe this is what I should be doing. And by that time, I had a visa, or work visa, that I could work on. And so I started my own business. It worked really well with having kids at home, right? So I would be with kids and fully present during the day, and then work on my fledgling business in the evening or in the nights. So it was really interesting, struggling at first, but then I started getting really good clients. My first paying client was actually Samantha Schurk. And she is, at that point, she was the editor of Sunset Magazine. She founded the Independent Book Day since then. Just, a great client to have. And we collaborated on her site. And I never put made by or side by. But in the shout out, I think she acknowledged me. So through that page, I started having clients, a lot of them local authors, and so it kind of gained traction that way.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how I came into web, right? And after a couple of years, e-commerce was just like the next step. I had clients come and saying we need e-commerce site. And it was scary, right? Like e-commerce are supposed to just a site where you provide information. There are all these different parts that payment processing, right? And you just deal with so much sensitive data that customers trust you with, that it took me a while, to start doing e-commerce. Easily 2 years, which was a while for me then. And so I started with Magento and Magento e-commerce platform. And yeah, I had a bunch of clients. And then I was headhunted into this local company called Zenni.
Oh, yeah.
And my first position there was actually designer. And they had no marketing department. There was customer service, accounting, and the founders ran it just pretty much, on their own. They had an agency that they were working with, and they onboarded the agency literally like a couple of months before they hired me. And I guess they hired me because they were like, oh, there's a lot to do with. And so they hired me as a designer. But at the interview, what I guess really appealed to them that I had this marketing background and business background and technical background. So they were getting like this knife of a professional, right? And so, so I was hired over, I guess, many other people who were just designers.
Yeah.
I guess they were calling me unicorn at that point. And I helped building this department, right? And setting the strategy for marketing department, setting the systems for the marketing department. And once that worked out, I realized that to market well, we need a good product as well. So I went on founding a product department and strategies within that department. And so little by little, it takes a lot of people working, in the same direction to get to the success that we were enjoying. Yeah.
So then you were there for how many years?
Gosh, 9 years.
9 years. Okay. So you had lots of experience there going through different departments and different leadership roles and stuff. And then after that, if I remember correctly, you decided you needed to take a leap and do your own thing again. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. After a while, I could do my job with my eyes closed, right? And we were really, I won't say lucky, but we really worked towards that. We had collaborations with amazing names like, Cynthia Rowley, Rashida Jones, right? IS Epfel, Chicago Bulls. And I was leading a lot of those collaborations at the time. So it was a good time for me. But my daughter was struggling with the transition at the time, and she needed me to help her. And just like when they were little, I wanted to be present for that moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I've asked the leadership to set me with a couple of projects that I would lead, right? And step down as the, from managing all the departments. And part of it, and that was already after pandemic, right? We were all working from home. But my daughter was moving to Sweden and she asked me to help her with the move.
Yeah.
And, again, new country, this new challenging situation. And I thought I couldn't do everything right? And I want to do everything right. And I didn't think I was the right person to manage the department when I was like 10 hours ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up eventually leaving Zenni and helping my daughter move to Sweden.
How cool. So you took time away for your family. So this is a good point that I want to bring out that, the life that you've gone through, the journey, the moving, the different jobs and everything has really led to be who you are today. Right. And I think it's really important to understand for those out there, especially other females who, maybe have kids at home and want to work or maybe you're a single mom or whatever the case is, you're not alone. Like, right. You're a perfect example of somebody who had an amazing job, a successful job for 9 years and decided that, family needs to be the center focus right now. Right. And things obviously change again, but you took that step down and took care of your family, which I think is very respectable. And I don't think a lot of people would have the courage to do that. So congratulations to you for taking that leap and helping her do that. So, okay, so now she gets moved, she's settled in. What's next for you?
Oh, it wasn't that simple, right?
Okay.
Uh, so, so she moved to Sweden, and it doesn't work out.
Oh no.
So we're moving back.
Okay.
But she wants to try again next year.
Uh-huh.
At that point, and she's settled in a lot of ways. So at that point, I'm looking for a job, and I'm interviewing in Sweden because I wanna. I'm thinking this will take a while, so I might as well interview in Sweden. And so I had this amazing experience interviewing for jobs in Sweden for director, level jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so that process was interesting. I was impressed how much more personal that was, right? They would ask me
Mm-hmm.
questions about me as a person that, I'm not asked much here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I overall loved it. I also learned that the salaries in Europe are like easily half of what they're in US.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so in the end, I ended up taking a job with a company in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
which would allow me to work in Europe. I would be just 5 hours ahead of them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
Okay.
that's how I ended up moving to Sweden again with a new job.
Okay. So this is the second time, right? So this is
Yes.
you didn't work the first time. Second time, we're like, let's try this again. You move out there with your daughter, get a job in Connecticut. And how long were you with that job?
I'm still with the job. That's the job I
Okay.
have.
Oh,
Yeah, so
perfect. Okay.
I got the job remote and on East Coast because I wasn't sure if I would be in California for the
Yeah.
everything was in the air. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So let's talk about what you're currently working on. What excites you? What gets you up in the morning? Is there anything specific that you can talk about at your current job or side hustle that is exciting right now?
Well, I'm relatively new in my job, right? So it takes all my attention, and it is pretty big job. I'm
Mm-hmm.
overseeing the e-commerce site on, US and Canada and all the digital channels, you name it, social retention, paid, all the channels is um, part of, what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is super exciting because this is not what I did at Zenni.
Okay.
So it is a new challenge. And I love it. I love challenges that like I learn and I build new systems. So that's kind of what I'm really excited, right? Building this team, and oh gosh, I have really nice team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is just like in their place and working out so well, and just makes me so happy, right? And for the company, of course, we're all about revenue, right? That's our
Yeah.
the ultimate like KPI, and but what I feel I'm doing is really figuring out the best way for the customer to find our product
Mm-hmm.
and the smoothest way to buy the product, right? And then post purchase, making sure that the customer has all the tools to get in touch with the customer service. I think we have one of the best customer service in the industry. Um, so the whole customer journey, right, and taking care of the customer is like what really excites me. And I think it was the same at Zenni as well.
Yeah. Which part of the journey is like are you most passionate about?
Gosh, I think all of them have their own challenges. I
Mm-hmm.
think right now the conversion on the site is what is a puzzle that I'm trying to figure out. The product is, you know, um, let's say a steel shed, right, or steel gazebo. It's not something that you would just buy, on a regular basis, right? So how
Yeah.
do you hold the customer's hand through all the process, right? Making sure that um, the customer is getting what they want, right?
Yeah.
And overall, like how, like that they're happy. That's like That whole part of the process is something that I'm trying to work with internal teams, and I think we're getting quite some progress in that. Remember, I told you that for this year we have really impressive goals, so we're actually getting there. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. It's an interesting business model, and I try to think from a customer side. Like if I were to
Mm-hmm.
go and buy a gazebo or something like that, by the time I would go and start doing research, I feel like my personality, I'd already be like 95% of the way sold. I just need to find out what features I want and what quality I want, right? And so thinking through like the questions that I would ask um, online while doing my research before I finally found your product and made that purchase and got it shipped. And it sounds like you probably got your hands full. There's a lot of different areas that you could tackle to help in that journey, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And social listening, right? Like, what does customer really want and what they're complaining about? So um, that's all big picture of it. Like,
yeah,
um, I think what's good about my position right now that I get to see all parts of it, right? I feel like often in marketing we are very siloed, right? And
yeah.
I'm one of the few marketing leaders who actually get to see the
The
whole
whole
funnel,
picture.
so to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so you've had a vast amount of experience and knowledge throughout your career. As we dive into the tactical part of this, for business owners who are out there listening and saying, "Okay, I can't quite afford to hire somebody in house or to hire an agency, but I want to level up my online game." What areas of advice or tactical tips would you give them um, to better themselves online?
So tactical tips, and I'll get to them maybe a little like in a second. I
Okay.
think it's all good. I think it all starts with the strategy, right? And with how like the North Star, right? What is the North Star for you?
Hmm.
How are you different as a business, right? What sets you apart?
Okay.
So I think with good, solid understanding and foundations, I think it's everything else kind of is easier. I feel like marketing is the set of like systems and levers that we pull, but like there should be we need those fundamentals set right before we actually go there. So I feel like knowing your product, right, and your strong points, what you stand for, knowing your customer, their pain points, and knowing your competition, just those five good like fundamentals that every business owner should know.
Hmm.
I find owners often thinking like, and maybe it was true back in the day of like very beginning of web, you build and they come. It's not
Hmm.
that anymore, right? So you definitely need to do all your homework, and the tactical tools that help you with that homework. And I think some of them are available not just for on enterprise level, but also on small business level. And some of them that I would recommend is for research of your competition. I would recommend Build With. I use that tool all the time, like
Okay.
figuring out the marketing tech right of your competitors and what
Hmm.
they use. Do you use it?
I've used it before. Yeah. Huh. Yep.
Uh-huh. That's like, yeah. And then also, if you're looking for a job, I think that's a great tool to know what systems the company uses that you
Hmm.
potentially applying to. So that's the tool I use a lot. SEMrush is another tool that I use a lot to look at the competition. Um, so yeah, those are kind of some of the tools that are like widely available there, right?
Hmm.
The for I won't say on everyday kind of for small
Yeah.
business owners as well as enterprise level. Yeah.
Yeah. SEMrush is a really, really popular one. So let's say that I'm a business owner and I decide to go with SEMrush. Where do I start? Do I look at organic? Do I look at paid? Like what would you recommend I do diving into that tool? Because it's pretty expansive and there's quite a bit to do. But for somebody who's maybe a novice, where do I start?
I'd start with researching your own site, right? And looking at the traffic that you're getting, what kind of customers coming to you with what searches, and then um, taking your top 5 competitors, and you can find them just by Googling, those keywords that you want to be found by,
Mm-hmm.
right, in Google. So, and researching your competitors and see what they're doing right? And um, and then, like you said, you can deep dive into how the paid ad looks like, right? So I think it's a lot of
Yeah.
things to be figured out within SEMrush. You probably
Yeah.
can have just a separate uh,
A whole other
demo, right?
conversation.
Yes, on that tool. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
one of my because I think keyword research is like the basis of the foundation of your
Right,
website. One of my favorite tools within SEMrush is the keyword gap analysis. And so basically you go and say, here's my website, here's like 3 of my competitors,
right,
and it does this almost Venn diagram of circles and saying, here's the keywords you rank for, here's what they rank for, here are the ones that both you rank for. And you can kind of take the low hanging fruit and say, this is what they're ranking for that I'm not ranking for. We're in the same
right.
industry. I should take some of those and I should optimize my website, write some blog posts, optimize some product pages, right? And I think just right off the bat, you're going to get some pretty big wins from that one little piece of that tool. I think it's a pretty cool tool for sure. Any other tactical advice you would give to these business owners to help elevate themselves online?
Um, I should have prepared better for this one. Frankly speaking, right, because we're enterprise level, a lot of tools that
Yeah.
we are using, right, it's just not quite compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can't recommend Google Analytics anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's just such a mess.
So, but to that point though, so like
Hmm.
just looking at, we don't have to talk about the specific tool name, but
Hmm.
finding a tool that does X, Y, and Z, I think is important. So analytics, whether you use Google Analytics, Google Search Console, whatever you use, I think it's important to have analytics on your website, right? Small business, big business, you have to have analytics. You have to know, where you're going, where people are dropping, all of that. So we have SEMrush, we have analytics. What other, um, maybe not necessarily tool names are you using at an enterprise level, but what other practices are you guys doing that could also translate down to smaller businesses? Maybe more specifically your team. So if you were to go to your SEO team or your paid advertising team or your social media team or whatever and say like, what are you working on? Tell me about what you're working on. Like, what are some of the things that they're doing to help better your website?
You, one of the biggest and areas that we're always working on the site is reviews.
Okay.
And like you said, there could be different tools that you're using for reviews, but making sure that your products are reviewed, right? They're reviewed really well. I mean, if they're not reviewed positively, then it's something that, as a business, I guess, to work with. Um, the I feel like for the site, reviews is one of the top 10 priorities for sure.
Yeah.
And what a lot of businesses do, right? They precede, let's say, product launch.
Mm-hmm.
They would send the product to not necessarily influencer, content creator, like somebody who would really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and hopefully that person will also leave a good review.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't think you can solicit the review really, but usually we do it for content creation. And so I definitely recommend for younger business out there, smaller business, to be very proactive about reviews, right?
For sure. And ask, right? You don't have to pay for it for sure, but hey,
No,
if you liked
right.
our product and you want to leave a
Exactly.
review, here's a link to it. I think that's important.
Mhm.
I've talked to other people on the podcast where they say like as soon as the service is delivered or as soon as the product is delivered, like that's the best time. That's the honeymoon phase where they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I can't wait to get into it. Like, 2 to 3 days after they get their product, they should get an email or a text or something that says, hey, if you love your product, go here to leave a review. And I think that's where a lot of people find a lot of success. Do you have other areas or practices that you've used to get reviews that have been somewhat successful?
We do actually send those kind of emails. In our case, it takes a lot of product is custom made. So
Mm-hmm.
we usually take up to 20 days to send that email because, It takes a while, for us to, well, not a while, we ship within a week, but for then customer build it because you don't want to send them review requests when they're in the middle of putting it together.
They'll
So
be frustrated.
hopefully, right? Well, hopefully not, but um, so I have to be really strategic with what you said with when you send that review. So
For sure.
it's not necessarily 3 days after they got it. Every business is different. But yeah, the reviews is just, I want to say, blood of the e-commerce. And that is why all these reviews companies are just so popular, right? I mean, they're making...
For sure. Have you found that reviews on your website product page versus reviews on something like Google or Yelp, is one more valuable than the other, in your opinion?
They're different, right? So on the site, we get to review the customer gets to review the product, right? On Google or Facebook, the reviews are really important as well when the customer is in this research stage of the company, right? So that is why, Google reviews, Trustpilot is super important. Facebook reviews, they all are part of the reputation management, right? And that's kind of different role, but super important role as well.
Yeah, love it. Where do you see the future of your industry going? Where do you see specifically e-commerce? Where's the future going for e-commerce?
Let's talk about AI.
Let's talk about it.
Let's maybe take it bigger. And, of course, AI will make so many things hopefully easier for us. From planning and, executing on certain things. But I want to talk about AI, like in general, right? How it is something that is so new, right, to us as a society, right? I mean, I know that machine learning has been around since, well, I want to say 70s. Part of what I was studying was machine learning. But we're at this point in human history that we don't know, like, what next, right? Like when I talk to the researchers now, we don't know if this tool will be used for good or who will be using this tool. And so there are a lot of people working on really setting the new kind of set of systems, right, of how we engage with the tool. So I feel like this is a time we really need those people in those critical times throughout the history, like Cuban Missile Crisis or World War II. We really need a lot of people thinking about it and protecting really other people, like, from being exploited, right? Their likeness, their voices, their art. And so, I think this is really interesting time that we live in. And like I said, I hope that we will come out of this on positive side where we can extend ourselves with AI, right? And not that we are being slaves to like corporate
For sure.
AI greed.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways for sure. Like the internet can be used for good and bad, right? There's the dark web and then there's even bad stuff not even on the dark web, right? That our kids can get to. Unfortunately, we have to protect ourselves and them from. I think AI is probably going to be the same. I think that I don't necessarily know about like it taking over the world, kind of like in the movies, but like people using it to their advantage to take advantage of other people, like you said, the voice thing, right? So it's really easy, especially with people like me who I have a podcast, I have my voice out there all the time. People could go and take my voice, use it to train an AI, and then call one of my family members. And if we don't have, which we do, so if we don't have like a passcode that says, when I call and say, hey, I'm in an emergency, please help. And my wife says, what's the passcode? If the AI doesn't know, then she knows it's fake. And so I think that's important for one. But I also think, Google just went through organically and they did a huge de-indexing across the internet over the last couple of weeks. And the majority of it, I don't want to say was AI content, but it was really unvaluable, spammy content that I think the majority of it came from AI. There's lots of websites that use AI that didn't get de-indexed. And the reason is because they used AI to do, 60, 70% of the work, and then they used a human to personalize it, to really dig into the details and make it valuable content. So I think it's good to use AI in scenarios like that. But you shouldn't just go to ChatGPT and say, write me a blog post, copy, paste, and call it good because it's not valuable
No.
content, right?
Right.
Um, and in your industry, I'm sure there's a lot of chat bots that are including AI. If somebody has questions, they can go right to that, type it in and say, tell me about this shed, tell me the dimensions, tell me whatever. And you can have it, displayed real quick to them, which I think is super fun, super fascinating, and really helpful for your business.
It is so fascinating. I'm actually interviewing a couple of companies that do AI chatbots, and gosh, I mean, it
Yeah.
it can get rogue really fast, right? Like
Yeah.
they would promise whatever, and it's like, no, you can't promise that on behalf of the company, right? Like, no, we
Right.
just do this. You cannot do this, this, and this. Yeah, it's interesting how we put those for this new technology.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, we just have to be really mindful about it.
for sure. I think that the future is bright. I think that there's some scary things about it, but I think that if we use it in the right way, the future can definitely be bright for us. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of finalizing this, putting a cap on it. I ask 2 questions at the end of every podcast. And so the first one is, if you could go back to your younger self and give advice, what would that be?
Trust in yourself. I think that would be the biggest advice I would give myself. Doubting is human.
Yeah.
Embrace, I guess we have to embrace it, but also um, we have this innate desire to be good, to do good, right? So just trusting and following that North Star, right?
Yeah.
Um, is, I think, important.
I love that. Okay, second question. What books, podcasts, or leaders currently inspire you?
Gosh, I love Trevor Noah podcast, and
Yeah.
I've been listening, watching him well before he was the host of Daily Show. I think we share a lot of the views, right? We are kind
Yeah.
of outsiders here, and the way he prepares to the for the interviews and the people he interviews, and the podcast is called What Now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's having these discussions of kind of very of the moment with really interesting people. I loved Kerry Washington's interview. I mean, I love all the interviews that he did on that podcast.
Yeah, he has a really good book if you haven't read it either. His biography talking about how he grew up, and very different than
Very different, right?
than
Yes.
yeah, some tough times and some really cool experiences to make him the person he is today. So I agree with you on that one.
I have another book.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I read the book, and not only that, but we read it as a family. It
Oh,
was so
nice.
entertaining. I mean, he's so entertaining in the book as well, right? And I think it's
Yeah,
mostly PG. I don't remember right now, but I think it's really good book to
yeah.
read with the kids, right?
Hmm.
And book-wise, what comes to my mind, what I think made a real impression on me, and it was a couple of years ago. I think it was even like 2016, the year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes.
Hmm.
Have you read?
I haven't read that one. Uh-uh.
She's a powerhouse, right? And but she's also an introvert, and for her to go to this transformational year um, was inspiring me to kind of really, you know, having my own year of yes and
Yeah,
um, going out there and doing all the things that scared me, like, public appearances and talking. Like one week, I remember I had like 2 public appearances talking to my ecom peers,
hmm,
and a couple of days later, talking to fashion influencers. So that was so nerve-wracking and wonderful at the same time.
yeah.
And then,
Very cool.
yeah, then I ended up dancing in carnival. So I had a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have had if I wouldn't
Yeah,
um, try to push myself.
very cool. Well, Dilyara, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I've loved your story, and I appreciate you taking the time to jump on and talk with us today. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes and then on YouTube I'll display it up on the screen as well for him.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for taking our time today. I really appreciate it. And for everyone out there who's listening, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for listening to the episode today. Listen, I know how valuable an hour of your time can be, and for you to take that busy time out of your day and spend it with us, it really means a lot. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking and subscribing on whatever platform you're on. And don't forget to leave a comment. Tell us what you thought about the interview. Ask us questions. Let us know what other digital topics you'd like to hear about in the future. We're here to add value to your life and elevate your digital presence online. If you'd like some help doing that, reach out to me at fireusmarketing.com. See you on the next one.